every single one of us has that voice in our head that tells us to quit and to stop, or it's enough, or do it tomorrow. And I mean, in athletics, we call it that bitch voice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That voice that tells you, hey, on your workout card, it says 10 rep max. Mm-hmm. And we get to 8 and we're like, I probably got enough, right? That voice in your head that tells you shut it down is that bitch voice.
Yep.
The difference between, in my opinion, again, I am not a psychology doctor.
Psychology doctor.
I was going to say doctorate. I was trying to figure it out, guys.
You're close.
It's clear you're not a psychology doctor.
Fullback. Crush him.
Welcome to the Darren Woodson Show.
Yes.
Isn't it the Darren Woodson podcast?
This week we talk about Darren's first time crying while watching The Notebook.
The Notebook.
Yeah.
Wait. Who was in The Notebook? I forget his name.
Darren.
Rachel McAdams is all I know.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling. It's that one that the meme is, what do you want? when your wife's talking about going to dinner, what do you want?
By the way, how much do you hate the name The Darren Woodson Show?
It has not grown on me. I mean, to hear my name associated. I mean, we were on a call yesterday, a business call, and we were just
company
yesterday,
call. Yeah.
They said my name about 1 million times.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't feel right. It's almost like hearing your voice. You ever heard your voice when you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That feeling of
Everybody
watching
hates their
yourself.
voice.
That's how I feel about it.
About every time we say The Darren Woodson Show.
Every time we say it, because it's I don't know. I always felt like it's more. It's much more than just the name on the show. It's it's our experiences.
Right.
Man. It's so much more.
But we didn't know that going in.
No, I got to comment on that call that you're referencing to, and I want people to understand who Darren is as a man, right? Like I think by this show you get to see who he is. But so we go through this whole thing, and it's really kind of about protecting Darren and his time and being sensitive to a lot of things. And straight up contradicts everything. Like, nah, y'all just come to me. Just come talk to me. Like spent like 10 minutes like talking about, okay, hey, look, we got to be respectful. It's got to be this. It's got to be worth his time and all this stuff, because he's pulled so many directions. And he goes, nah, just come to me, guys. Just
we just had to cut through the bullshit. Honestly, it was like, there's no way it's going to work. And I'll be in the office and no one's going to be talking to me. At all, hey, just walk right by me. That's just not our. First of all, that's not our culture. And secondly, man, let's get some business done. And the only way we can do that is if we communicate.
Yeah. I just thought it was.
But back to the name. I mean, let's just be honest. Nobody's ever heard of Ben Gibbs. Yeah. Very few people have heard of Tyler Klutz. So we had to name. I mean, you got to use what you got. Which is the Darren Woodson Show.
It just fell on me.
Hey, what if we do this?
More well known.
What if we do a little survey on our Instagram account, Darren Woodson Show?
I like it.
And people chime in and say, hey, if you guys decide to change the name, what would be some
That's a great idea.
Naming, opportunities?
The ironic thing is our Instagram account is called the Darren Woodson Show.
Exactly.
Hey,
comment on Darren Woodson Show. At Darren Woodson Show.
And any potential sponsors out there, we are for purchase. If you want to buy the naming rights.
Microsoft, if you're out there,
may not like the cost associated with it.
Radio voice on Microsoft if you're out there right now.
The Microsoft podcast.
This is the Tesla Show.
Hey, we got some reviews.
I love it.
Let's get it.
This is my favorite part.
Yeah, because we talk about
Darren
it. We say this every
himself.
week, but this is.
I love it.
Yeah, that's true. They mostly are overwhelmingly positive towards Darren. And really nobody else. And that's okay.
Hey, all right. It's all about getting stroked.
It's his show.
Getting stroked.
It's all about getting stroked. Everyone. Hey, we're a team, so if Darren gets stroked, then we all get stroked, right? It's the same thing.
Pause.
That was a little freaky, man.
Wait, we all get stroked together?
With compliments, guys.
No. I'm an individualist when it comes
Anyway.
I don't share my strokes.
Anyway, we appreciate all the 5-star ratings and the reviews. Please keep them coming. They really do help us out a lot. Keep sharing with your friends. Keep doing all that good stuff because, again, it does help us out a lot. The first review The title is Weekly Listener. And this is from Landry's dad. I don't know who Landry is, but Landry's dad says Weekly Listener. Great show, guys. Although I would recommend changing the podcast category. So supposedly we're in the football category. Which we're not really a football show.
Did we?
Yeah, we said that.
Oh, we did set that.
I think so.
Okay.
You'll have to talk to DJ about that. DJ, where you at?
Yeah.
Hey, it's funny though, because we read a review on our last show about a listener that doesn't like football, doesn't watch football, doesn't know anything about it, found us somehow. So was she searching football?
No, she said she listened to the Rich Froning episode.
Oh, so through Rich
Doesn't know anything about football, but
Got
she
it.
heard about the show through Rich Froning.
Okay. And
that's
she
why
knows what the
started
Rogue
listening.
Echo Bike is, so she's probably a CrossFit.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, do you have choices? How many choices do you have?
I don't know.
just have
We can talk about it later.
Okay.
That's not the time. We got to get to the rest of the review. Great show, guys, although I would recommend changing the podcast category. While football is spoken about, the show is much more. It took me a little while to catch up on all the shows, but I can now say I'm up to date. Glad to hear Darren is on the mend and wish you all your families good health. The best thing that I can say about the show is that I have had my 11-year-old son listen to the show some episodes. So far, he's listened to the first 3. You guys show great character and illustrate the struggle of various parts of life. This show helps bring to light. God, you guys are just, your eyes are just burning on me right now.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to read, and when you two are staring at me, it's even harder.
That's a great review, man.
Don't
finish it.
Don't mess up.
This show helps bring to light how we become better humans. I look forward to hearing more inspirational stories and sharing them with my son.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
awesome.
But
Thank you,
11-year-old boy,
Hey,
right?
Darren, just remember.
Here we
there's
go.
11-year-old.
Here we go.
11-year-old Landon is listening.
Yeah. So when you're talking about getting stroked as a team, you got to remember 11-year-olds are listening. But he did say he doesn't let them listen to all of them, which is probably
that's good.
because of some of the
He's
stuff.
got to read. I mean,
Good parenting.
yes, as a
Parent,
father,
you listen first.
and
Yeah.
then
Listen first, parents,
and then just edit out Tyler.
See, that's why I watched the movie Wolf of Wall Street, so that I could make sure my kids could watch it. And I decided, no, I probably shouldn't watch that
Probably
movie.
shouldn't watch that. But yeah, you're right. Next review is from JG.
Rocco sitting there watching right now. Wolf of Wall Street.
Hey, with a name like Rocco, Wolf of Wall Street is right up his alley. Next review is JGSSC. The title is New Listener. Cowboys fan here. Never heard of this until Woody was on the break at DC.com.
See, I'm out promoting.
Yeah.
You see your boys out
Finally,
there
you're
putting in
out
work.
there doing something.
Putting in work.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it and the diverse group of guests. Very good format and stories from behind the veil. Great work. Keep improving. Like one listener said, sitting on the porch smoking a cigar is the ultimate way to listen.
There you go.
I love that.
There you go.
Man, I love that. That's awesome. And the last review is from Iron Butterfly 01. Do y'all say O or 0?
Oh, usually.
Yeah. That's weird, isn't it?
01, yeah.
I don't know why we said that.
Yeah.
It's a 0.
What was it? Iron Butterfly?
Iron Butterfly 01.
Okay.
Yeah. Simply the best. I've got to say that this show is simply the best. You guys are the buddy cop trio of the podcast world. What is that referring to?
I thought you would know.
Buddy cop.
Buddy cop? I don't know what that is.
We're gonna look it up.
I don't know. Hopefully,
Look it up,
this is a
Tyler.
compliment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he said we're simply the best, so I'm assuming it's a compliment.
Yeah.
You guys are the buddy cop trio of the podcast world. Could it be because I'm a lifelong Dallas Cowboys fan?
Yes, sir.
Possibly. But I love
Good.
Possibly, but I love the insights into how things work on a professional football team from Monday to Saturday, getting ready for Sunday. Off-topic stories and just how truly raw and honest you guys are. Don't change what you're doing because it's working, and keep them coming.
Yeah, man. We're going to
Love
continue
it.
to do the
Love it.
same thing.
Yeah. We're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, just getting better.
I
Just keep
think
doing it.
the buddy cop reference is like, think about what's that Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg movie where they're the cops. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, and like, Jackie Chan, it's the buddy cop. Right? So those
Jackie
movies.
Chan and Chris
yeah,
Tucker.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
I
think
watched
that's what
Rush
the
Hour
reference
2
is.
at least 15 times.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
I got to the point where I could just recite every line. I love that movie.
You know what? You just mentioned that one with Will Ferrell and Mark
Wahlberg.
Wahlberg. I just saw it the other day. And it was funny. The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson were. What's the name of
Yes.
that movie? I forget the name of that movie now.
Hold on.
The
Yeah.
Rock and Samuel L.
Yeah,
Jackson.
They were in the beginning of the show when they were
They're
like
the other two cops that like
jerk
die in the
cops.
first scene.
Yeah.
And which
Yeah.
movie?
The Mark Wahlberg,
I don't think I've
Will
seen that
Ferrell.
one.
Oh, you're missing out. It is hilarious.
What's it called again?
I'm a peacock. Let me fly.
It's hilarious. It's a great movie. I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
I can never. You know what? That's another thing. Can you remember names to movies
Yeah.
or restaurants?
The Other Guys is the name of the movie.
The Other Guys.
The Other Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have the hardest time remembering the name. Like I can remember if someone's like my wife, she'll say, you know, we saw that movie. And if I see it visually, then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that. But then if she gives me a name, I cannot remember the name.
Well, let's be honest. Your head is pretty scrambled.
Are we gonna transition into functional neurology right now? Is that what we're doing?
Do we need to
I'm just
explain
saying.
why you can't remember things?
Or restaurants. Like people will say, yeah, have you been to so and so? And I'm like, what's the name of that?
Why, yes, I have been to McDonald's.
I just can't remember the names of restaurants.
Tiffany's the same way. I'm better at it. But I think it's just how you learn. I think that's how you identify. Like my wife is visual, and I'm sure you're visual, right? Like you see it and like, oh yeah. Like for her, like she doesn't ever want to watch trailers of movies. She just wants to see the picture on the front. She doesn't ever want to watch it. She just wants to see what the picture of the movie is. And she can tell if it's a good movie or not because she'll like remember
the trailer.
Yeah, and I'm like,
you gotta watch
what?
the trailer.
I love watching trailers.
Yeah, I gotta watch the trailer.
But
So what's
she's
her
very
hit ratio on a good movie versus not a good movie? What's her hit ratio?
Well, she's got a very specific,
Oh,
like,
So it's Tiffany
like
ranking.
romantic movies or comedies, or and I can't say it.
sexual movies?
No, no.
You talking about
Okay, with the
Hey, remember we're on camera
with
today.
the cultural climate. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like what a man or how a man thinks type of movies. You know, the one where
What women want?
it's like the big group of people and it's like a romantic comedy.
Oh, like Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Kind of like
Yes.
that, but like not, but a certain demographic is the starring cast.
all black cast.
That's
She
like
likes
her
all black?
favorite
That's
movies.
what I'm talking
That's her
about.
favorite
All
movies.
black
Yes,
cast
sir.
or
All
favorite
black
movies?
cast. Yes. Yeah. What's wrong? Why are you afraid to say that?
Because she calls it something that I'm like,
Whoa.
Okay. Whoa. Let's go.
What did you just admit to?
I'm trying to figure out.
Tiffany Klutz.
No, the least, like the most loved. But I mean, it's just like how she describes it.
All black movies.
Just black people movies.
There we go. What's wrong with that?
What is wrong with that?
There is nothing wrong with that.
Dude, a month ago, I would have said that no problem. But I think with the
God,
climate, it's got to be like,
please,
all right,
dog. Black
make
folks
sure.
would love to hear that.
Hey,
that she's even tuning in. Black movies would be like, yeah, that's black folk movie, black people music. However you want to say it, just tune in.
Yeah. I think it's clear by our biracial show
Our reverse Oreo.
or reverse Oreo that we're not racist here.
Yeah, no.
We're all good.
Yep.
I don't know. The jury's still out on you.
Tyler, I'm pretty sure. He's
you're
good.
okay.
Ben, West Texas. Hey, y'all ever think about how weird it is, by the way, totally changing topics, but how weird it is, like what people were doing during certain events of your life? Y'all ever think about that?
Provide more context.
Like, for instance, yesterday was my, humble brag, my 8th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
anniversary.
you. I was looking for that.
made it.
Thank you for the congratulations.
I
No
told you-
text,
I told
no
you-
call
I
yesterday.
I told you yesterday.
Had to remind you, but
Yeah, I still told you.
But I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, 2012, September, July 7th, 2012, I was getting married. What were you guys doing? Like, that's weird that y'all were living a completely separate life.
2000.
We didn't even know each other then.
Yeah.
Or like if you're watching like a murder mystery,
Yeah.
and it's like back in 2001, this murder happened up in Seattle,
Yeah.
and you're like in Texas living your life in 2000. Like, it's just weird
Yeah.
how, I don't know.
So that's 8 years.
Dude, get close to the
Now,
mic.
you
I'm
ain't-
just
I'm
you
just
want to hear
saying,
something
back.
crazy? I know exactly what I was doing July 7th, 2012.
Oh.
What were you doing?
I was actually in Cabo with 2 other couples.
Really?
Yeah, because we left on the 6th. I remember that.
In 2012, you remember back that far.
Because
That's a memorable trip.
Yeah, it is. Because we used to do every other year with
I mean,
these
not
2
for
other
you,
couples.
not for the high rollers like you who go to
right,
Cabo
right,
every other
man.
weekend.
Hey, just
But
on a Tuesday afternoon, I want to go to Cabo, so I'm just going to hop on my PJ.
That's not
Yeah,
very memorable,
Friday.
Tyler. How do you
Please.
remember such a trip, Tyler?
Please, I can tell you exactly what I was doing. Wait, was it July 12th?
July 7th, 2012.
I can remember exactly.
I was probably in my
Make it up.
Don't stop, don't stop in the club. Somebody was twerking. I don't know. No, I'm just joking.
Do your chain hang low. Do
your
it well.
chain.
Dude, you were in the club twerking in 2012?
No,
for
I wasn't
sure.
twerking. But I was not. I can't remember.
But isn't that not weird, though? Like, you're living your life, and then people that you know are living their life, like, or maybe that you don't know. And it's just weird.
Yeah.
That's just a weird thought.
Yep.
Like, certain events in your life are happening, and they're everything to you. But people are living like, I don't know.
And we don't know each other.
We didn't know each other.
Yeah, just in different spots in your lives.
We didn't meet till what, 2000? You and I, 2014 or 15.
Yeah.
And then Tyler, 2017.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we were living lives before then. That's crazy. And we all ended up
my
in
life.
one
My
spot.
life didn't start until I met you guys.
That's it. I know.
That's
So,
special.
Yeah, the light bulb came on when you saw me the first time.
Then there was a reason to keep living when I met you guys.
I have met the Lord.
Oh man! So what we talking about today? What we got?
I don't know. I think Tyler's got a good idea.
It's your idea. Why don't you bring it in?
Hey, here comes
Tyler's better at bringing in
here
the
comes
topic.
that big bus, and Ben's just about to kick me under it.
Yeah.
All right.
Tyler's better at bringing in the topic.
So we're always talking about things that we feel like are real life, maybe that we struggle with, that our assumption is that other people out there struggle with. You know, all of us have played at a very, very high level athletically, and you know, people assume that it's easy. People assume that, hey, you're just so talented. God blessed you so much that you just show up and you just do it. The challenge is every single one of us has that voice in our head that tells us to quit and to stop, or it's enough, or do it tomorrow. And I mean, in athletics, we call it that bitch voice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That voice that tells you, hey, on your workout card, it says 10 rep max. Mm-hmm. And we get to 8 and we're like, I probably got enough, right? That voice in your head that tells you, shut it down, is that bitch voice.
Yep.
The difference between, in my opinion, again, I am not a psychology doctor.
Psychology doctor.
I was going to say doctorate. I was trying to figure it out, guys.
You're close.
It's clear you're not a psychology doctor.
Fullback, crush him.
See ball, hit ball.
All right. So
Continue the joke.
not a joke. That's
a movie reference. Have y'all seen what's the movie? It's Saints. Boondock Saints. Boondock Saints.
Oh, that is a good movie.
Continue the joke.
That is a good movie. But that voice in your head that tells you to stop, right? And my opinion is the difference that separates the people that are just average and go through life are the ones that listen to that voice, and the ones that are successful and achieve dreams that maybe others didn't think possible, or you didn't even think possible yourself, are the ones that recognize that that voice is trying to hold me down, and I need to push through that because that's just my mind. For example, we just shared on this would be last week. We shared on our Instagram 2 young boys doing the 500 calorie challenge on a bike, right? And in one of the videos,
did you see the time it took to do that?
92 minutes and 94 minutes.
Yes, that would be me.
And I'm saying that's amazing. Not saying how long it took, but that they stuck with it for that long.
That's right. And
is
by
incredible.
the way, those 2 boys, and this is a little, again, shout out. Those are my nephews. So Cooper and Dane.
It's a good name.
Cooper and Dane. They did that, and I thought the same thing. I was like 92 and 94 minutes. You continued to push.
Yeah. How old are they?
10 and 12.
There's no chance at 10 or 12 I would sit on a bike for 95
That's what
minutes.
I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
But even at that age, everything in them, and you hear them like literally crying because it hurt so bad, but they ignored that bitch voice and continued to push through and got the 500 calories. I mean, to me, like, that is what separates the good from the great is ignoring that voice. There's a book by, Michael Shea.
The CTE is strong today.
It
with
is
us.
strong, fellas.
Coming.
Holy smokes.
What'd you say?
Tom Shea. So it's Tom Shea. And he calls it that internal dialogue. right? The internal dialogue is that voice in your head that tells you you can't do it.
Right.
And I talked about it earlier on the show quite a while ago about the push-up challenge. Okay, wake up every morning. First thing you do before you do anything is do 10 push-ups. Week 1, 20, week 2, 30, week 3. And every night before you go to bed, and listen to that voice that tells you why you shouldn't do it, right? That's the bitch voice.
Right.
And you've got to shut that out. Now, there is a realistic voice that you also need to listen to when it's the right time to walk away, but that's not what we're talking about today.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, we're not talking about that today.
I mean, but I mean, how do you decipher which one is the bitch voice and it's that other voice that tells you when it's time to shut up or, that corrects you?
Good question. I think the voice that brings you continual dysfunction, continual failure, or continual breakdown, and whatever that is, that's the voice you need to start saying, okay, that's now logic talking to me.
Right.
And the bitch voice is
this hurts.
Push harder. Push harder.
This is painful.
This is how I would describe the bitch voice. It's the coward in you.
Yep.
It is the true coward that's in all of us. And it's not just when you're fatigued, because they always say fatigue will bring the coward out of all of us. If you're working out and you're going really hard, or you're playing in a sport and you're gassing out, fatigue will make coward of us all. No, that coward lives within us every day. Before we go to sleep, when we wake up in the morning, and it's how you suppress that voice that allows you to be, I'm not going to say great, but to get wins in for the day. You have to suppress. And that's, for me, it's always been that procrastination voice. Well, I can just get it done tomorrow. I don't have to get this workout in this morning. I can just get it in later on, or I'll get it in tomorrow, and always push it back. I deal with the coward every single day of my life. And I've had this conversation with you guys. It's just that some of us won't admit it. Yeah. We just won't admit that side of us lives in us, and we have to overcome it every single day. And the only way to overcome it, man, is, in my opinion, the only way you overcome it is you have to understand yourself. I mean, to the T. You have to understand who you are and how you're built and how you're going to overcome those things, because I have to run right through it. That's the only way I can do it. Now, and I'm not saying I win all the time, because it's like 50-50 to me. It's a toss-up, bro.
Wait a minute.
Man.
You don't ignore that bitch voice every single time? What's wrong with you?
I feel like my life is based on lies now.
I thought you ignored it every time.
But it happens, and I'm always the one trying to tell my kids to ignore that voice.
Right.
I'm that guy. Oh, you gotta ignore that voice.
Well, it's so much easier when somebody else is going through and you're not feeling that physical pain. Sure. It's so much easier to, it's like when I was training people and I'm, trying to get them to do a few more reps, I'm not the one going through that physical pain. It's not my mind that's telling me to stop. So it's easy for me to sit back and say, dude, push through that, or, ignore that voice. And even though we're not psychology doctors, as Tyler would say,
that sounds right. Coming from you, that sounds right.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder where that voice comes from. I can only assume it's a protection. It's survival. It's keeping you from getting injured. Yeah, I would assume. Yeah. If it's something physical, if it's if you're going through a workout and the pain sets in, your muscles are starting to break down, and it's saying I can't do any more reps, but you can. That's a sign of safety. Your brain is saying stop. You're going to hurt yourself. Yeah. Most of the time, you're not, and so it's pushing through those moments. But to me, that translates so well to a lot of things. Yep. Because you can manufacture difficult moments by putting yourself through something physical. You can't help or you can't manufacture. You probably don't want to manufacture true tough times, like getting fired from your job or getting a disease or whatever. Obviously, you're not going to put yourself in that situation, more than likely. But how you handle that and how you work through that can be practiced through physical, in my opinion, through physical challenges. That's why I love training. That's why I love working out. I've said it a million times, because I can purposefully put myself in a quote unquote safe environment to practice and teach myself what it feels like to push through things and ignore that bitch voice. So if one morning I'm, doing my workout and I'm getting really tired and I push through that, how does that translate later on my day when there's a phone call that I don't want to make? It's that awkward, that uncomfortable, cold call. Mm-hmm. Well, that is not as difficult as that workout I put myself through this morning. So I can do this.
Yeah.
Now they're different because you're looking at me, Darren, like this. You're not making sense right now.
No, you are making sense. I think there's a confidence that comes along with it. That's what you're saying. That's what in the end is that you put yourself through something that's been so, demanding of yourself, and, mentally you had to overcome those things. So you're almost like you build this confidence to where if I can do this, then I definitely can do. Yeah. I can make this call down the line. And that's just coming in like, look, this is all just talk. When we have these conversations, a lot of it goes back to mental strength. Mm-hmm. It just does. I mean, we can talk about physically what we did in football, but the great ones, the Deion Sanders, who we're going to have on the show hopefully really soon here, and we'll talk about this, the Michael Irvins, the guys that played at the highest level, it wasn't always what they did physically. It was the mental part of the game that they just could overcome things. They had one loss, got rid of it, moved on, went to the next. Mm-hmm. It's just that mental strength is what really binds you. And it's the same way when you talk to CEOs. They just will not lay down. Mm-hmm. And it's not even a workout that they're attributing to their success to, that they had to go do a workout and that's how they got the mental strength. It's what they see every single day. And I don't know when that begins. I don't know if here's the question. When does that begin in your life?
When you start to get good at ignoring that voice?
Yes. When is it? Because as a child, you're coming up as a child. When is it that you start to experience those obstacles? Because there's a time when it happens.
Well, it's different for everybody. It just depends on how you grow up, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a couple things. I don't want to hit on something that both of you said is, what does that voice come from? One, survival. I think that you're exactly right? We are wired as humans, fight or flight, right? Like either we're going to fight through it or we're going to run away from it. We're in survival mode. That's part of it. The other thing you said, confidence, Darren. And I think it's part of that voice is the lack of self-confidence, right? And so to wrap that all up, I think that it starts when we start becoming aware of who we are and what we're not capable of, based off of what people tell us, what people, put into our minds. So we start questioning ourselves. Yes, part of it comes from, okay, hey, this hurts, I shouldn't do it, or this is going to be hard, or it makes me uncomfortable. But also too, it's part of like, you're not good enough to do this, so don't do it, right? I think it's partly both. I think the biggest thing about this is it comes in a lot of different forms. It comes in from physical pain. It comes from emotional pain. It comes from self-confidence issues. It can be in all different forms, but it's all the same voice and it comes from the same place. The biggest thing that we can do, I think, is just recognize it. Mm-hmm. Recognize that voice is there, because it's in our head so much all through the day. Like that voice is constantly talking to us all day long.
Yes.
And we just think that's part of it, right? Like that's just part of what the day is. But you need to be able to separate what your thoughts are versus the bitch voice that says, don't do this, don't do that. And if we can recognize it, in one real life example, and I want to have us talk about a couple examples in our lives, one that we gave into it, and then two that we overcame it. And I want us to talk about that. But one example is literally 2 nights ago. I get home from work at like 7:30, and I was like, okay, I didn't get my workout. I'm gonna at least go for a run. So I get changed. I put my shoes on. I'm sitting there, and I'm talking to Tiffany. Kids are asleep, and I'm like,
that bitch voice was strong.
Man, I don't really want to. I kind of just want to hop in bed and just start watching some TV.
Well, how much easier is it to just hop in bed?
Oh my gosh, exactly. Yeah. But it was, and many times I give into that, and I don't. But this other night, it was like, no, why am I saying no to this? Like, I'm already dressed. I'm ready to go. Like, that voice is telling me not to do it. Just go for a run. And I came home and I was so glad that I did. I felt better. I slept better. I mean, it was just crazy. But I want you guys.
Well, hold on. Let's pull on that thread a little bit.
Yeah.
How much better did that feeling of accomplishment when you were done? How much better did that feel as opposed to previous times when you didn't do it and the disgusting feeling you had then? I mean, what's more powerful?
Every morning when I wake up, if I didn't get one in the other day, or like say I didn't eat the way that I was supposed to the day before, every morning I wake up and I start my day with guilt.
Yeah. There's guilt. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
So what's more powerful, giving into that voice and feeling guilty and maybe not being uncomfortable, or fighting that voice, recognizing that voice, waking up the next day with more energy, more confidence, ready to go? I don't know. What's more powerful to you?
I mean, I guess what feels the more, dang, I don't know.
Yeah. So let's go on to this. Let's go on to each of you giving examples.
That's a damn good question.
That's a good question that we're not qualified to answer.
I know. We will have one very soon that can actually answer those questions and give a psychological doctor approach.
Well, I'm just trying to think through, because we've talked about my history of, I quit all the time.
Yeah.
And that feeling I would get each time of just never accomplishing anything, but then switching over now, and the feeling is the exact opposite of being proud of the accomplishment. And I'm just sitting there thinking, what has a bigger impact on me? What had a bigger impact on me?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Here's another question. Is let's use this Rogue Echo bike, right? And you do that, and you're saying your goal is 500 calories. Okay, you get to 300. You get to 300, and really the physical gain from doing 300 or 500 is insignificant, right? Like the difference between the two is.
You hear that?
But what is most powerful is the accomplishment that you get in your mind, that you actually did push through it, and the confidence that's associated with it. The physical gain, minimal, right? I mean, it's arguable that there's any difference there, but the accomplishment that you get, the confidence that you get in your mind, that is what's powerful. And that's what, when you get to the next day, it's like, okay, now I'm going to do 600. Okay. Then the next time, now I'm going to do 650, and now I'm going to do 750. And you know what I mean? And you just continue to progress. And that is to me, the recipe, those little, like we talk about all the time, stack your wins, celebrate all the little wins, because if you do 300, shut it down, physically, okay, I got what I wanted to out of it. I got my metabolism going. I got my heart rate up. I'm burning calories. Awesome. But then the next day you're like, man, I don't know if I want to do 400 now, because 300 was still pretty hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. The mental victory that comes with overcoming that voice, to me, is more powerful necessarily than the physical gain, the financial gain, all that, because that's where you stack those wins.
Yeah. And it is, man. Again, it goes back to confidence. It goes back to, look, I know we work with people, our listeners are like, we usually attribute everything to working out, because that's what we do.
Right.
Right. But
it's such an easy way to, like I said earlier, manufacture.
Exactly.
It's the easiest way to manufacture a difficult situation.
But how many times, like, there are people out there right now that are probably in bad relationships. Right. And that inner voice that's in their head right now is telling them they know it's time to go. It's time to go. They got to rip that Band-Aid off. And right now they're sitting there and they're like just procrastinating the process, whether it be a good, whatever situation it may be in their relationship, but that it's not for you and it's time to go. Right. The mental part of that, here's my feeling. The longer I procrastinate that situation, the worse it's going to be.
Every time. It's just inevitable.
It's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. And then just going to get to a point where within that, and I'm sure we've all been in this situation, at some point it just gets so bad that, there's yelling, screaming, and all, and whatever, what it takes. I always feel like if you have to make that call, do it now. Like, if I have to do it, and that voice is telling me you got to make that call, right when I hear the voice says you got to make that call, man, whether it be good or bad, I got to make the call. I cannot wait 5 minutes, 2 minutes, because once I wait that first 2 or 3 minutes, then I'm going to push it off to the side and I'll start procrastinating. The best thing you can do is when you are in a situation, call now. At that point, take this advice. Just make sure you do it at that moment. Especially when it's big.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, but what about the devil's advocate says, you need to make decisions not based on emotion, but on
No. I'm
well
saying
thought out.
no. Yeah, I mean, there's.
I think you're
that
saying
part.
after that, like when
Yeah,
you
you've gotten
decide
past-
and
got
you've
past
gone
that.
through all that.
Yes, you've gone through all that. You weighed in on the relationship. You know where you are, and it's just time. It's time. Or let's talk about business. When you know you have to make that call to the CFO or CEO or whatever it is. Let's say I'll just say this. Let's use a scenario where you messed up or you really screwed up on something, right?
Yeah.
How many times has that voice been telling you need to make that call? You got to make that call.
Well, or the bitch voice is telling you, dude, run away.
The bitch voice, exactly.
Run away.
That's what I'm saying.
Avoid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The bitch voice is the one you hear the first time that says, let Darren make that call.
Yeah.
Or
It's not your fault.
Tyler can, that's not your fault. Tyler can make that call. I ain't making that damn call. I ain't calling him. Put it on someone else. That's the first thing the bitch voice says to you. But then there's that voice at the same time, there's that war in your head that's saying, damn, dude, I need to be a man and step up.
And you know deep down that's what you're supposed to do.
That's exactly, you're supposed to do the honorable thing and do the right thing, right?
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying to you. You know, man, I'm telling you, that voice that's in your head, the coward's going to come out first. That's the first thing that's going to happen. It's my buddy used to say, all the hoe in you is going to come out first.
Yeah.
Because he wants to run.
Yep.
You want to run. It's, fight or flight. You want to run. First thing you want to do. And then that other voice comes in and it says, come on, man. Like, you're better than this.
Right.
That's the one.
That's the voice you need to listen
That's
to.
the one.
Why do we listen to that bitch voice in that scenario? Even though we know, everything in us knows the right thing to do. Why do we still choose?
I think because we just hear it so much, we think that's the voice. Like, that's the voice that we're supposed to listen to. Like, it is so prevalent.
No.
Yes, it is.
No.
The voice that tells you not to do something.
The voice that tells you not to do something, dude, it's just, I'm telling you, let's call it what it is. It's the pussy that's in you. That's it.
No
that's
doubt.
It. No,
no
man,
doubt.
That's all it is.
Yeah,
It's just, it's all in us. It's that pussy that's in us. It's the coward. Sorry for
my
the
question
7-year-old
is,
that's watching, listening to the show.
we that ship has sailed from the get-go. But why do we listen to it though?
We don't listen to it. We do listen to it.
That's the whole conversation.
That's the whole conversation.
We're listening to it because of the fear of the outcome of what it is. Like, we don't want to go through it.
But we
just don't want.
Yeah,
I mean,
I totally agree.
If it's physically or mentally, we don't want to go through it.
Yeah, but why can't we realize though that the avoidance is so much worse than just
But my
taking it head
counter to
on.
that is that that bitch voice doesn't just listen to the really big hard situations and show up then. It's around all the time. Everything we do throughout the day. I mean, it's the voice that, like, I'm driving, right? And I'm just going to be a bitch and I'm not going to run that red light. I'm going to stop. It's just everywhere. It's like little tiny situations.
that was a horrible example.
That was terrible. That was really bad.
That's called saving your life.
To Salina, please. Yes.
I'm going to run this red light. Hey, shut up, bitch voice. I'm going to run this red light.
By red light, I mean yellow light. And hey,
school zone.
I blanked there, and I didn't have a good
bitch voice.
situation.
I don't care what traffic's coming. I'm going.
I don't care what the kids are crossing the street.
But it's okay. But it's also it's also that procrastination voice you're talking about. It's like, man, I got to go out and do yard work, or I've got to do this, or I've got that, or I've got this. It's literally there all the time.
All the time.
And we hear it all the time. And I think that's part of why we listen to it, is because that voice is so familiar. And I get what you're saying. Like, no, it is. And I agree with you that, that's our puss voice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, it is. But here's the deal, is it is around all the time that sometimes it's hard to recognize, okay, hey, is this just me thinking, or is this voice? Have you guys ever read
no, it's a book.
Okay. Just shut it off. Is it in a movie form? No? They haven't seen it.
Dodgeball. I read it in a book.
All right, next point.
No. Have we ever read one?
No, you're good. You were on a roll. Tyler, for the first time today, you were on a roll.
Yeah, you were,
For the first time, man, I brought us in. Hey, I brought us in.
Come on, man. Don't get distracted.
No, it's cool. It's
Ignore the voice.
No, it's good, man.
I'm done.
No. My confidence and that bitch voice is just speaking too loudly right now. I can't
Tyler's
even.
so stupid. I can't believe you can't put sentences together.
It's okay. It's past now. I do want to go to some examples that we have, right, in our lives that we've listened to it, and then times that we have not, and we are better because of it. I want Ben to kick it off because he always puts us on the spot.
Yes.
Let's put him on the spot
Yeah,
first and
please.
foremost.
I mean, like I've talked about today, it's every day for me of during the physical activity. You know, I work out most days of the week, and no matter how often or how long you've been working out, that point comes in that workout that you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. There's nobody around. I'm the only one here. Nobody's going to get hurt. But if I stop, and you just push through that. So, I mean, it's literally a daily thing to me. And I've said it so much, I'm a broken record, but that's why I love training. Training to me is so much more than physical or the what's the word? The body transformation. It's all mental at this point. It's all about what am I going to push through so that later in the day when something else comes up, I know I have that confidence because I went through it this morning that I can push through that. So specific examples, I mean, I can't think of one off the spur of the moment, but
Make up a red light type of story.
Darren?
Yeah, I would say getting up in the morning.
Hey, that's the bitch voice. Ben just backed out of what we asked him to do.
Yeah, he did. Look, the bitch voice comes to me in the morning. It's every morning. And I've discussed this. Ben and I have had this discussion so many times about the process that I have to go through to try to overcome. Is that where we're going with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I almost have to set up things in my life, a strategy every day to overcome the coward. And it's putting on my shorts. It's putting on my shoes. Just like you said when you got home that day. It's almost like having a regiment in place to do it so that I can, then I just find myself in the gym. You know, and again, I'm like 60-40. Most 60% of the time I'm losing. I'm not working out till later on in the evening or whatnot because that bitch has won.
Right.
But when that 40% of the time when I do win, I have to be regimented. I have to get up. I got to, put my shorts on before I do anything, put my shoes on so I don't get back into bed. I got to go do this, and that. And then when I go through the process, to me, it's a confidence builder. My days of working out, and I'm not saying I'm going to give you this much love, but it's the battle with Ben. Because Ben writes up my workouts. So it's the battle with him. And he'll tell you this. I will call him through a workout. And there'll be times, man, where, I have to do goblet squats with lunges and all this. And I will call him because I want to quit.
Because you're trying to get extra rest time.
I'm trying to get extra rest time.
Talk me through this
exactly.
step by step.
But you know what?
Break it down.
Hey, you're on the field. Hey, coach, can you walk me through this one more time? I got a question here.
Yeah, but it's the truth, man. I mean, I'm just being honest and real about this. This is like, there are times where I want to quit. I don't want to do whatever it is that's right in front of me that he's already put in front of me. So I'll call him and say, hey, how do I do this? And he'll talk me through it. And then it's almost like, okay, I sort of knew how to do this shit, but I just needed to hear so I can push through. Man, so you have to find ways to set up things. I mean, my biggest deal is the biz voice is he's a winner anytime you don't have an accountability partner.
I agree.
Yeah.
He's going to win every single, or she is going to win, or whatever you want to call it, is going to win every single time unless you have someone that can hold your hand. The best thing you could probably have, Tyler, when you get home from working out is to have Tiff run with you.
That's right. 100%.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're saying it's the confidence in knowing that you can do it because you've been through it before. The other thing is understanding why you're doing it.
Yeah. That's
The reason that why you've determined, Darren, that it's so important to get through that workout. That's what's really driving you through. That's at the base of what's really driving you through. But that's the
accountability partner. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person that is your accountability partner. If you have that goal and that written goal, like why I'm doing it is why I need to go out and train today because I have that marathon or because I have this, right?
You know what? One thing I don't mind doing, I mean, people always get pissed off about the guy who's the douche who's in the front of the mirror and he's looking at himself during the workout, or he's like,
we know that about
that guy.
Hey,
Darren, is that why you ordered all those mirrors for your garage gym?
Hey, strategically also has his desk at the office next to the window, and he asked for this really dark tint so he can see the reflection. So he's turned his desk just so he can look at himself all day long.
Okay.
So what are you admitting to here?
No, but listen to me on this. I don't mind that guy. Because, whatever it takes for him to get to that damn workout, if it's about him looking good and he needs to look at himself in the mirror to look good, but he's getting that workout in, what's the problem with that? We all have our own triggers that allow us to overcome that voice, right?
We all hate that guy, though.
Yeah, you do. You don't like it. But at the same time, he's getting his workout. There's a guy that runs, I'm telling you, a guy that runs down my street every single day. No shirt on, shorts on.
Does he look at himself in each car?
Dog, he's like,
stops.
He's just
Tricep flex.
He's one of those guys that he's never gonna wear a shirt, and he's a good looking dude.
He's proud.
He's proud of what he
put together.
But man, I have no problem with him because I've heard guys around. Oh, here he comes again, dude. He's getting his work in, however you want to call it. If you think he's a douchebag for not wearing a shirt or doing whatever, he's getting his work in. So whatever it takes for you, whatever the trigger is, you utilize it to get the success that you want out of it.
So for you, Darren, it's easy to look at you at 53 and 51. I really wasn't trying to make a joke. I really wasn't trying to make a joke.
You just threw that out there, dog. You knew damn well. What?
At 51 years old, it's easy to look at you and think, okay, he's got it made. He's good. He's made a bunch of money. He's had success in everything he's done. And so for you, what keeps you pushing there? Because at this point you could stop.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. At this point, you don't need to do much.
You know what?
That's so the bitch voice.
I'm glad you brought this up.
So the bitch voice for you is easily says, dude, you've done enough.
Yeah.
You've been pushing for 50 years.
Yeah.
You're
we've had this conversation.
You're good.
And this is
so why do you ignore that voice?
And it just happened this Saturday. It just happened this Saturday. So I'm in the shower with, and my son is.
I like the where this story's going.
Go on.
I'm in the shower.
Hold on, slower.
All right. So you know how, okay, I got my 4-year-old, Judea. We're in the shower and just got done swimming. And so I had, Judea late. I'm 51. My wife and I have an 18-year gap. Judea's 4. And you asked that question, man, and I thought about that same deal, and it damn near brought me to tears the other day because I'm in the shower, I'm 51 years old, and I'm looking down at my 4-year-old, and I'm thinking about how much time I have left with him. Like, seriously, how much time? And I'll tell you another story after this, but at 51, I'm looking at him, and I'm saying, I don't want him to ever go through the struggles that I went through. So you ask, why do I get up? Why do I try to avoid that bitch voice? Why do I go? Why am I continuing to continue to go? Because not only do I have Judea, but I have a 27-year-old. I got a 23-year-old. I got a 19-year-old. I want them to experience the best of life. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it's all monetary, but it's not just monetary for me. It's the experience of growth. They got to see me grow.
Yeah.
I can't stop growing right now, man, because I'm going to let my kids down. I feel like I'd be a failure if I let them down. It's not about the number. It's about what am I leaving these kids?
I think there's your answer right there. The reason that you ignore that bitch voice is because you have something so much more powerful, so much bigger than you as an individual that you're working for.
Yes.
And so it's much easier to ignore that bitch voice when you're working for something beyond yourself.
Exactly. It's not about me anymore, man. It's about that little dude that I'm looking at who's in the shower, who's so innocent, man. You know how you're sitting there looking at Coop. Mm-hmm. You're looking at Rock. I mean, those are your babies, man. Right. And your father. I mean, the one thing I'll get out of this, and if you can go back and listen to one of the stories. I think Tyler, you were talking about your father growing up. Man, that is so admirable that your father was so consistent, and you saw that every single day of your life, and it's made you the man that you are. But that's what.
How often was he? I mean, I bet you daily he had to ignore that voice.
I've never heard him complain. Right. So that's one thing too, right? Like the people that are listening to that voice are the ones that always seem to be complaining. Yeah. And
true.
Never to this day. I mean, he's had some heart issues. Dude went and had a heart procedure done and is out laying pavestone the next day. I mean, now that he's not listening to Logic voice either, but he's definitely not listening to the bitch voice.
Yeah. But to your example earlier, Tyler, you say that many times you just go to bed or you don't go on that run. So let's just be honest. You haven't found a reason that getting out and running is important enough.
Right.
You haven't found that, losing 10 pounds probably isn't enough.
Right.
It's probably
That's
not
right.
a big enough reason.
Yeah.
But when you turn it into, well, I want to be, super functional, super healthy, super fit, so that, when I'm 40 or 50 and my kids are older, I can still play with them.
Right.
I still have the ability to play with them. That's where that, when that bitch voice says, hey, take it easy. No, I'm not going to take it easy because I want to be around and healthy in a few years when they're older.
Okay. This may make this conversation a lot longer. As a parent, how do you teach your kids not to listen to that bitch voice? You can show them, right? But I don't think that I would have recognized what my dad went through had I not experienced it myself, right? So as parents, if we make it so easy, and I don't mean like, hey, we give them everything, because I agree with you. That's what I want my kids to live, the best life possible, right? But in a way that they are grateful for that, right? And they do have struggle and they do have things that they push through. Like Luca, my oldest son, like my biggest thing with him right now is he says he can't a lot, right? He's listening to that voice. We were taking the trash cans up our driveway the other day and he was like, I can't, it's too heavy. And I'm like, no, you can, and you're going to.
Yeah.
It took him 5 minutes, but he did it. And like the conversation afterwards is like, you tell yourself that you can't do it. You cannot listen to that voice because you can. You're strong enough. You're big enough. You can do all those things. But when you're around me, I do not want to hear you say that you can't do it, because you can. Yeah. And but as a parent, how do we not protect them so much that they just don't even know to recognize that bitch voice because they don't struggle?
Yeah. That's, hey, man, I love the fact that, and you made them finish, right?
Oh yeah.
You made them finish. And that's just it.
I think that's it. That doesn't have to be some grand act. It's little acts
but
like that.
But it's life, right? Yeah. Like we can do little things, but there's also points where I think parents, and I'm guilty because before I was a parent, I was always like, no, I'm not going to coddle my kids. I'm not going to be a helicopter dad. I'm not going to be this. But like reality is like, no, kids, don't go in the street. Or no, you can't go to the park. Like at 4 years old, I was going on bike rides 2, 3, 4, 5 miles away from my house. Like I can't even think about my 9-year-old doing that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like what?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
So
it's just different. So how do we let the leash go a little bit as parents to let them experience hard times so that they can learn to recognize that voice as well and overcome some of those challenges?
They got, you know what? First of all, I mean, as parents, I think mom and dad have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
For one, because I've been on the opposite side where we weren't on the same page and how we raised the kids. And there's something to say about failure. Like there's something even at a young age to watch and be okay with your kid failing.
Yeah. That's got to be so hard.
And watch him go through the struggle. And it's hard because the first thing you want to do is you want to go up and get that
do it for
helping
him.
hand and all that. But they're going to have to go through it. They're going to have to cry. Like my son and I, for my oldest right now, DJ, I would never let him win in basketball. Ever. Even as a kid. You always like, well, you just want to keep him going and all that. Hell no. And it took us until high school to where he started beating me. But when he got in high school, but of all my kids, he was my first, but I was the toughest on him. Mm-hmm. And I allowed him to fail. I mean, seriously, like hit rock bottom on his own. And I can't tell you how many rewards that I got out of, how much love I got out of that. Because I allowed him to figure it out on his own. Mm-hmm. Like you have to allow your kids to go through, especially at a young age. Allow them. Look, hey, avoid the potholes and give them that advice. But sometimes, man, they got to go through it, man. I mean, we all went through it. I think it shaped us. The failures that we had have shaped us. And it's the same thing with our kids, man. Yep. I know they're 4 or 5 years old, whatever. They can't push, your boy can't push it up, the garbage can up then let him fail.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly right. I mean, until you feel failure, until you know what that feeling is, and realize I don't like this feeling. What am I going to have to do to overcome it next time? And there's a multitude of bitch voices that you're going to have to overcome until you win it that next time.
There's layers to it, right?
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
different
Yeah.
So I mean, you fail, you learn what that feels like. You succeed, you learn what that feels like, and then you remember the entire reason overarching those two things, of why you're doing it.
That's right.
And why you're pushing through that.
Summarizing this thing.
Because we're trying to wrap this thing up. You know what I'm saying?
Bring it home.
Landing this plane.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
let's get something out of this, though. I mean, let's. I know we've been discussing this, man. You know, what do we want our listeners to hear on this? I mean, honestly.
Me personally, I think I want people to start putting themselves in positions where they have to ignore that voice. Put yourself in a situation, whether it's physical, whether it's at work, you don't want to do something, but you do it anyway. Intentionally do something today that puts you in an uncomfortable situation and practice pushing through that. That's what I would love for everybody to do.
I love it. I think recognizing that it's there, first and foremost, is step number one. Step two is, I think, we talked about the self-confidence aspect of it. The number one goal is, I think it's the self-confidence to say, hey, if you do this, you might fail, right? And we just talked about it. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't not do something that is going to make you better because you're afraid to fail. Put yourself out there. I mean, that's what you have to fail in order to get stronger. I mean, it's the same thing, right? You've got to tear your muscles in order for them to rebuild and become stronger and larger.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you have to do. And so recognize that voice and then make a decision from there. Is my goal stronger than that voice that tells me not to do this?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think the first things first, know that voice is there. And know that, you know, that voice is something that bitch voice is there for a reason.
Yeah.
It is just there. It's just how we were made. We're cowards. And you have to digest that. You have to understand that that bitch is there.
Yeah.
And when you look in the mirror, you know every day. So deal with that issue, and then try to overcome it by the wins. Like, stack your wins against the coward. Just stack your wins. Just in a day, a half a day, just stack your wins in the cowards. And I think that's when you start against the coward, and that's when you start to build confidence.
Yeah. And last thing too, I think is that bitch voice is also telling you not to have an accountability partner. It's the same voice that tells you not to, because
you can do it yourself.
Then you're going to fail yourself. You can do it yourself. Don't listen to that either. Have an account, whether it's writing down goals and having it visible. So it's on your desk, it's on your bathroom mirror, whether it's a friend, whether it's just, it doesn't matter. Have some sort of accountability, because that is one of the things that will silence that voice.
I think let's wrap it up this way. Let's put a little challenge out there. Let's put a little challenge out there.
Does that have anything to do with the bike?
No. It doesn't have to. If you're listening to this, if you're within the sound of our voices, do something today that makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Put yourself in an uncomfortable position today, whether that's physical or it's mental. It's probably going to involve both. But put yourself in an uncomfortable situation today and force yourself to get through it.
Yeah.
And then what you're going to do is you can go to our Instagram page.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell us what you did.
There you go.
Yeah.
And what you pushed through.
Yeah.
Because to your points about accountability, let's share with each other. This is a
on.
community.
Yeah. Come on.
Let's share with each other what we pushed through today when you're listening to this that you didn't think you could do.
Yeah.
And let's start to build that confidence. Again, you have to know why you started, but the other part of it is you have to put yourself in those situations.
Yeah. Yep.
You have to practice getting through that stuff.
That's right.
Just like your son pushing that trash can, you had to force him to do that.
Yep.
Because if you had done it for him, he wouldn't have learned.
It doesn't matter if it's, I got a workout in that I didn't want to. It doesn't matter if I told my mother-in-law to stop feeding my kids McDonald's because it was an uncomfortable conversation I didn't want to have.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is.
Doesn't have to, for everybody, it's going to look a little different. For me, maybe it looks like I hate running. Maybe I go run 5 miles. I hate running more than anything. That sucks.
Right.
But maybe I go run 5 miles. For you, maybe it's I make one phone call today that I don't want to make.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. It just matters that you put yourself in that situation and you did it anyway.
Love it.
And you ignored that bitch voice.
Let's go,
So
everyone.
go ignore the bitch voice.
Ignore it.